Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eyewitness Show with Nikki George. Thank you for coming and meeting us again on today. We have a very, very special treat with you guys. Adrienne, uh, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here today.
Awesome, awesome. I'm so glad to have you here. So, we're just going to dive right in today. After I make this announcement, next Friday. We normally have our show on Fridays, but next week we're going to be on live on Thursday at noon because my son is graduating on Friday and I'll be at his ceremony. So praise God for that. But now that we've got that out of the way, Adrienne, tell us about yourself. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. We just recently met, and so I'm excited to get a chance to dive into conversation. I was just thinking when we took our little break, I was like, man, she is so amazing, and she doesn't even realize the full capacity of it. Like I had to. When I went downstairs, I went and got my little tissue because I was like, every time she prays, I'm like, I feel like something's happening. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of what God is doing through your ministry. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, praise God. Well, you, Miss Adrienne, have a wonderful ministry that um, you said kind of found you. So tell us about Hope Vibes and how it's all started.
Sure. So, Hope Vibes is a nonprofit that my husband and I accidentally started 4 years ago. We're right at 4 years now, and it started from me seeing a YouTube video of some homeless women that were sharing about dealing with their menstrual cycle while living on the streets homeless. And these women, one woman in particular, was sharing about how during that time of the month for her, she would have to decide whether she would use the little bit of money that she had to buy food that week or buy feminine hygiene products. And so she would often decide to use that money for food. And then she would make her own hygiene products out of things like toilet paper, tank tops, socks, like stuff that she would find in the trash can. And as I was watching her share about her experience, and even other women that were sharing about like having to intentionally try to just sit in one spot for days at a time because they didn't want to have to deal with like the fact that they didn't have the hygiene necessities that they needed. Um, it just really upset me. Like I don't tell most people this, but so I was watching the video in the bathroom and I'm sitting there like so like crying, like upset. I watched the video like 4 times back to back. And then I decided to have a little rant on Facebook about it. And in my mind, I was just that was the end of it. I was talking about this issue to bring awareness about it. But my friends were just as shocked as I was. There was like over 100 people that commented, and they were saying things like, "Hey, when you go out, I want to go out with you." And I was like, "I never said I was going to the streets." um, People volunteering to bring hygiene products to us, and I was like, y'all, like you need to chill. Like I never said I was doing anything. I just wanted y'all to be aware of this issue that's right here, and not just overseas somewhere in an underdeveloped country, but right here in the United States, right here even in our own city in
Mm.
Charlotte, women not having access to the things that they needed. And so after about a day of just nonstop comments, one of my friends, she dealt with nonprofit consulting at one point, and she was like, "Okay, Adrienne, this is what you're going to do. You're going to schedule a time to collect items that people wanted to bring to you, and then we're going to prepare those things together, and then you're going to pick a day to go out." And we're going to distribute the items. And I was like, I am. And she was like, yes, you are. And I'm going to help you. And so that's what we did. We scheduled a day a month out, and we started going out and distributing the items. We found that there were a lot of people in need of hygiene products, not just women. And that first time we went out, we had like maybe 15 volunteers. And we ended up doing it again. And the second and third time we did it, each time the number of people that showed up doubled. And it wasn't people, like, they weren't my friends and family. It was strangers who found out through social media. Um, and so once we started having churches reach out to us, wanting to give donations of hygiene products by the truckload, and then people wanted to give money to us, we were like, hold on. For accountability's sake, let's like make this a legit nonprofit because I'm not going to jail for anybody. So uh, that was how we got started. That was, we had not planned to like create a nonprofit. It was never in my like, oh, I hope one day, years from now, I can start my own nonprofit. Like, no, that was never the plan. But I tell people that Facebook literally pushed me into my purpose, because now that I'm in it, I know that I am where I'm supposed to be, at least for this season of my life. And it's the hardest experience, the hardest work I've ever had to do, but the most rewarding work that I've ever done, because I believe I'm in the center of what God has for me.
That is amazing. And just the fact that, I mean, first of all, I had never heard that. When you shared that with me, my mind was blown. That, the we don't think about just the very simple, basic, everyday needs that we just,
Mhm,
we just run out and get it if we run out,
mhm,
and we don't think about it. And so you brought that to light. And so that was a very powerful moment, even for me. But I guess what also stands out is that, even though you didn't think you were doing something about it, you were doing something about it, because it touched your heart, and you said at least that was the first step of making people aware, and then you had somebody come alongside you to kind of help you, and
mhm,
then you recognize that you were in the center of God's will, because at some point you could have easily said no, but
mhm.
you didn't say no. So can you tell us what you're saying yes is meant to you?
I think it's kind of crazy when I think about it, because someone else brought that to my attention recently. Like, they're like, you didn't have to like go
Mhm.
forward with that, even though there were so many people that was like wanting to do something about the issue that had been raised. And I think that part of it was because I had legitimately had a compassion for people experiencing homelessness for years since I moved to Charlotte 20 years ago. That was kind of when I really had some of my first exposure to like just openly seeing people living on the streets. And so I think that all along, God had been planting seeds in my heart to prepare me for a yes that I didn't know that I was going to have to stumble into. And so I think like, I don't know, when I think about it now, I don't, other than it was like my heart was already like prepped for it. I don't know why in the world I said yes to to doing something like that. It wasn't like I had had experience in organizing community efforts in that realm before. Um, but I'm glad that I did. And even my husband, like, he never, when I told him that this is what I wanted to do, he was never like, hold up, wait a minute. Like, no, we need to think this through. Like, he was immediately on board and ready to go. And so um, I think that part of like just being able to say yes is it's not like being ready for like specific events or a specific ask. I think it's a lifestyle where you're just consistently open to like whatever God might lead you into. And just really being able to see, okay, I'm in this moment, like um, just being able to like discern like where God is moving and acting. Like, I've had other people ask me to be on their podcast, and I don't tell everybody yes. And yeah, I don't know you, and here I am, because I felt like like I feel like, God is in this. Like, I feel like God is leading me in this direction. I had a peace about it, and I think that it was the same way with Hope Vibes, which at the time it wasn't Hope Vibes. It wasn't anything, because it wasn't supposed to be a nonprofit in my head. It was just, okay, God, you've created this moment, this opportunity where you are wanting to do something, and you're giving me the opportunity to co-labor with you. And so, I mean, who like if God invites you into something, like it almost feels crazy to say no,
Mhm.
because I feel like if you don't walk in alignment with what God has for you, you're going to be more miserable trying
Mhm.
to avoid it than you actually would be in it, even though it might be hard. So I don't know if I
And
answered your question or not.
you have, and you also got me thinking because it's like, what if we pay attention to the things that upset us? Because when you watch that video, you watched it a few times, and it pulled on you to where you felt like I should do something. You didn't have the whole big plan or the whole big picture, but you said I could do something. I could go on Facebook and I can just at least make people aware. And so I believe that's for us to learn to pay attention to
Mm-hmm.
what is getting us riled up on the inside. Is there
Yeah.
one action that I can take? Just one action. I don't know the whole plan or the whole story. Is there any kind of way that I could be of help? Can I bring it to somebody's attention? And then maybe someone else can have the knowledge, like you said, your friend, she was the nonprofit person, and she was able to suggest things to you. And so sometimes it's just as we go, we just taking those steps. And you
Mm-hmm.
said another word of discerning. You're perceiving that God wants me to do something. I might not know the whole thing, and so I think that that's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you started Hope Vibes and time that you never planned on, um, what would have happened if what would you have missed out on if you hadn't said yes? So what are some
Man.
of the things that you got to experience because you did say yes, because you did take that first initial step?
I think about when I first started Hope Vibes, I actually, at the time, I was working full time at UNC Charlotte, and I was miserable in that job. And I was also at the same time pastoring a church with my husband. Um, in my head, I thought that we'd be pastoring in a regular church setting for the rest of our lives. Like, to me, that was like, okay, this is what like I've envisioned God saying that we're going to be doing for an extended period of time. There is nothing else other than writing books and public speaking. This is it. This is where it will be. Um, and so, like, now, though, I'm not doing either of those things. I'm not pastoring in a regular church setting anymore. Hope Vibes has this element of like pastoral ministry to it, but it's very different from like pastors who are leading in a brick and mortar church and doing Sunday services and Wednesday night Bible studies every week. It's just different. Um, so I'm not doing that anymore, and I don't work in higher education anymore, which I would never have thought that I'd have the opportunity to be leading something that I feel like really makes a difference in the world around me. So like when I was working at UNC Charlotte, and prior to UNC Charlotte, I worked as a 911 telecommunicator for CMPD for a brief moment, and I hated that. And for that, I was a middle school teacher for 4 years, and I hated that.
Oh no.
Um, yeah. So, I had this long history of careers that
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy, and I didn't find a sense of fulfillment. And I remember being in some of those positions, particularly um, my last position at UNC Charlotte. I remember feeling like I know that this work is meaningful for someone, but I don't feel like it really. I'm not having the sense of fulfillment of really making a difference in the lives of people. And so now, because I said yes to this opportunity that God sneakily laid out before me, because I think if He would have told me up front, I don't know, like, if I would have been as apt to be like, I don't know nothing about like working in social services or working with populations of people experiencing homelessness. Like, I might could have talked myself out of it. Um, But now I actually get a chance to be a part of doing work that actually makes a difference in the lives of people, not only just people who live on the streets, but also people who come to volunteer. Like, it's a ministry to them as well, because sometimes people, it's easy to live in your bubble and not really be cognizant of what's happening in the world around you, like even in your own city. Um,
Mhm.
and and so we create this space where God can minister to the person that's living out on the streets, but he can also minister to the person who just showed up to volunteer and pass out some tampons and pads, you know? And so it's really been a unique opportunity just to be able to um, do like full time something that I am passionate about, something that I know makes a difference in the lives of many different kinds of people. And I actually enjoy it. So it's been great. And not just even from being a part of doing the work that we do, we've had a lot of opportunities to meet really amazing people that maybe, you know, we weren't even designed to meet for the purpose of work, but some of my closest relationships have come as a result of they might have met me or found out about me through Hope Vibes. And so it's just been a lot of different opportunities and blessings that both intrinsically and outwardly, like tangible things that have been just huge in my life.
Yeah, and I think when we partner with God, it's always something creative that comes from it as well. So tell us about the Hope Tank.
So the Hope Tank is our mobile laundry and shower vehicle. It's a 24-foot box truck that
Mhm.
has two full restrooms with shower, sink, and toilet, really designed to feel like home. Um, and the back of the vehicle has three sets of washers and dryers. We have onboard water, so there's huge water tanks in the middle of the vehicle that captures. It has one tank for clean water and then another tank for capturing the used water. And the design of it is just really it's really different from anything else in the country, because we really wanted to design it in a way that made people feel like they had a moment of retreat. I mean, when you're living out on the streets or you're living in your car, you don't get a chance to experience just a moment for one to be able to go into the bathroom and lock the door and feel safe while you're, you know, dealing with your hygiene stuff, but also to have a moment of seeing like custom art with messages that will inspire you. Like, and most people don't know this, but so we had a local muralist. He did a mural on the inside of the inside hallway of the restroom area, but then I also had him do two custom pieces of art. And I prayed for like 3 weeks and asked God, like, God, you know, every single person that will ever walk in these restrooms, between people who are being served and also volunteers. What message do you want to give to the people that will come in here? And I prayed for 3 weeks. And finally, he gave me two things. And so, like, the two pieces of art that are in both bathrooms are literally prophetic words that God gave me that he wanted to be in the restrooms. And so I gave them to the artist and he created art with it. And it's so funny. I think I must have been more accurate on one than the other, because there's one bathroom that people go in there and they just cry all the time. Like, it's just this one particular one. I'm like, I don't know what it is about that one. Maybe we prayed harder in that bathroom than the other bathroom. But it's really amazing that like we were able to see this start literally from a dream, because my husband had a dream our first year of doing Hope Vibes. And I remember he woke me up like 3 o'clock in the morning. He was like, "Babe, I had this dream of this huge truck with showers and laundry in it." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going back to sleep because it's 3 in the morning." And knowing me, I probably had just went to bed, being a late night owl. And so I went back to sleep and he stayed up and started researching. And um, he the closest thing that he found to anything that was like what he was dreaming of was in Australia. Still not quite like what he was thinking of doing, but it was the closest thing that he could find. And so he started researching and writing down ideas that he had, but we really felt like God wasn't saying it was time to do it yet. Again, he was just planting that seed. And so that was back in 2017. We didn't actually start publicly talking about it probably for another year or so. And then I think we finally applied for our first grant in 2019. So there was like this significant time of between actually having the dream to actually starting to build it and implement it. And we finished it and launched it last October.
Wonderful. Man, that's amazing. That is so encouraging. And just to think about something as simple as a dream, but God knew that you guys, you wouldn't just take that dream and just, keep rolling over and sleeping on. You would take that
I
dream and bring
did.
it. You did, but your husband didn't. So that's why we need each other. But your husband, you guys, you made it come to life. And so to me, that's making God's dream come to life because he gave the dream, the vision. And so that's also to remind us of it's something God has shown us, something God has said to us, some dream that he has given us. Um, for us to pay attention to it, that we can actually pick that dream up. And you didn't do it right away. It wasn't the next day. He did his research. It was some time. You had to you had to get a grant, to make it come to pass. But you took the steps. You took the necessary action. And so I definitely want people to be encouraged. You are an inspiration, honestly, to us and to anybody that will actually take step to what God is putting in their heart and showing them to do.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
takes
I
time.
think it's amazing. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
takes
you think about that. The dream was in 2017. We started Hope Vibes in 2017. So maybe like a few months after we started,
time.
he had that dream.
Hmm.
And, and then I think it was probably late 2018 before we really started like publicly talking about it and like casting
Hmm.
vision for it. And then 2019 we got our very first grant, and it wasn't a big grant. Now it wasn't like one of those situations where you get like a really big grant and you can go and do the whole project with that lump sum of
Hmm.
money. No, this was a $10,000 grant. And I'm always so appreciative because, for one, this was the first grant that I had ever written. I had no experience writing grants. And
Mm.
the African American Community Foundation, they believed in our dream when literally
Hmm.
all it was an idea on paper. Like there was nothing that they had nothing to say, oh, like, okay, I can visualize this, I can see this. We had created some little digital images, but like there was nothing like what we were trying to build that we could say, here, go look at what's being done over in Georgia. This is what we're trying to create. Or, even to say, hey, we've done some really big project before. You can trust us. And so, like, that was just enough for us to buy a little old, like, used truck that was like literally like we bought this truck that was like $8,500. So it's an old truck. It used to be a old a car part recycling truck. And so we took that and repurposed it, had to put a lot of money into it. But there were times where the money ran out and we'd be like, okay, God, what are you going to do? Because this is your thing. And so, like,
Hmm.
the Lord had given my husband a word at one point. He was like, I'm not a deadbeat dad. I take care of my stuff, I take care of mine. And
Wow.
so every time like the accounts for the nonprofit was getting low and we were nowhere near finished, my husband would go to prayer and he'd be like, all right, Lord, you said you take care of yours. Here's where we are in the project. You see where the resources are. And I kid you not, like within weeks, out of nowhere, like there would be some major bank fund or whatever. They would just like, we literally one time, I think this was in October of that year. We had run out of money. Well, we were pretty close. We were pretty close. Not enough to finish project. Not enough to even like finish like the next step. And we had a lady that she at the time she was a VP for Bank of America, and she had been following our organization since we were part of like a pitch competition like the year before. And she emailed one day, and it was like late at night. It was like 7, 8 o'clock at night. She was like, "Hey, can one of you call me? I want to follow up on how things are going with the Hope Tank." And I was in a women's Bible study, so I couldn't call her. And so my husband called her, and she just, wanted to hear how things were going. And then she was like, "All right, well, I gotta go because I'm on vacation." And he was like, "Okay." And then she was like, "Well, oh, by the way, I was just wondering, would 25,000 help you with the Hope Tank project?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it most definitely would." And she was like, "Okay, I've already got it set aside for you. I'll have my people send you the paperwork tomorrow." And it was like, it wasn't even a grant that we applied for. Like literally God would set it up so that like whatever was needed when we needed it would be there. Even if it was at the last minute, it was like the ultimate like trust activation exercise. 'Cause it's like we had to trust him every step of the way that whatever would be needed, and I mean, and still we're in that place, and whatever will be needed will be there at the appointed time. And so, you know, you may not have everything you need starting out when you first have a dream, whether it's like literal, you had a dream while you were asleep, like my husband did, or it's just like something that God has put in your heart to do. Like you don't have to have everything all laid out and in place to get started. Like you just
Mhm.
need to find out, okay, God, what do you want me to do first with what you've put in my hands, and we'll go from there.
Yes, you have taken away all of the excuses, Adrian, because I heard you say you had never written a plan, a grant before. You had never, done any of this before. You didn't dream of this before, but yet and still you were able to take, steps of faith, trusting in God, and you were able to, and they're still, living out the heart of God. And so I just say, we have no excuse.
I
We have
mean,
no excuse. We can't say
yeah,
I've never done it before. And it's just, it's just, hey, give God our yes. How has
yeah,
God rewarded you? How has He rewarded you by saying yes?
man. I don't think it takes much for me. Like I I was thinking the other day, just about like faithfulness.
Hmm.
Not necessarily like our ability to be faithful, but God's aspect and characteristics of being faithful towards
Hmm.
us. And just how like even at like my lowest points, like when my yes was like it was there, but it was like, I'm gonna say yes because there is no other option, but I'm really frustrated with you, Lord.
Hmm.
Like he sticks in there with us, and like he is long suffering with us even when we're like, going through whatever, having difficult times. And I think for me the greatest reward is like his consistent presence in my life even when I can't feel him present, because sometimes like some of the things that we've had to walk through in the last few years, sometimes it just didn't feel like he was there, but I know that he was. And so I think that that's been one of my greatest rewards. And I think just having the chance to be able to work together with my family to do what God has called me to do has been really awesome. Like it was a risk to like not like just work a regular full-time job.
Hmm.
Like my parents initially they thought I was crazy. And they were like, you need to go and use that degree we helped pay for and go get you a job. And now they're like, we were wrong. I'm glad you didn't listen to us. Because they see that again, doing right exactly what God wanted us to do. And that doesn't, mean necessarily that it's always easy, but being able to work together with my husband as like, not just he's my best friend, but he's my coworker. And even, my son who's 10, well, he'll be 10 this year. He gets a chance to be a part of the work that we do. And I enjoy it. I enjoy having the freedom and flexibility to make my own schedule, even though I work way harder and way more hours than I ever did working for someone else, or even when I was pastoring in a church. I still work more hours now, um, but I enjoy life. And I mean, and a really good tangible reward that I recently got, which is really, I'm still kind of shocked by it. Like, I received a humanitarian award, which is really crazy. Um,
Yes.
and they gave me money. They gave me money for doing work, and they said you can't use it on your nonprofit. You can't give it to charity. You have to take a vacation. And so I'm in the midst of planning a vacation, which is stressful, but it is it will be a reward once I get there and go. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time with us. That's I was trying to fish that for you to tell us about that recipient, that award that you got.
It's
And so
weird
I
to talk about.
but it's amazing, and I think that that is true. A lot of people that serve and want to give, we're always looking for to other people, and we're always, supporting other people. But sometimes it is very valuable to take time out for yourself and to receive the rewards and the blessing that God has given to you. So I hope you enjoy that vacation, that well-deserved vacation. And thank you so much for being here. Can you tell people how they can get involved with you if they want to with Hope Vibes?
Sure. You can go to our website, www.hopevibes.org. And we're on pretty much all social media platforms at Hope Vibes CLT. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. I think that's everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting your light shine and be an awesome witness for the Lord Jesus, and inspiring others to follow after Him, and know that they can just take a step and just do it, make it happen. So we appreciate you so very much. God
Thank
bless you.
you. Thank you.
All right. And everybody, remember next week, we will go live on Thursday at noon instead of Friday, because my son is graduating on Friday. So again, next week is Thursday at noon. All right. We love you all. God bless you. Share it with someone. Thank you.